Well, hello, everyone. Hello, all you beautiful people, children, young adults, people of all ages. I just wanted to give a little bit of time for everyone to join. And before that, as I always do, I always have a question. So, here's the question for today. What do you think is the most mentioned seasonal holiday across all Omnisend emails that were sent last year? If I had to guess, no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna influence the answer. Please, someone in the chat. I know you're gonna get this one. It's a pretty obvious one. That's gonna be one and only hint. There you go. First one. First one. Good job, everyone. Good job. Of course, it's Christmas. Okay, perfect. It seems that we already have all the people in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So today we're going to be talking about making the most of seasonal events. And today I am joined by Director of Brand at Omnisend, the one and only Pija. Welcome, welcome. Do you have anything to say to our audience?
Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun, interesting presentation with many examples. So can't wait.
Perfect. Me too. Me too. So, a couple of things to know before we start. Workshop is being recorded right now, and you will receive a link to the recording in a couple of days. And if you have any questions, feel free to jump into Q&A tab and ask them right away. We have people in the background making sure to answer all of the questions. And if they don't get answered, I will ask her, Pia, in the end, and she will hopefully respond with an appropriate answer. So without further ado, I'm stopping the recording and passing the mic, to Pia. Take it
Thank
away.
you, Arne. Yes, you should see my slides now. Yeah, so hi, everyone. Thanks for introduction, Arne. Yeah, so starting with this actually very relatable moment, quite recently, I rewatched Mad Men. I think many of you know it's this quite good TV series about the golden age of advertising, right? 60s. And from one perspective, I was watching and thinking like some things haven't changed, thinking about the creative agencies, how they work, how they come from insights, how they build messages, right? But one thing that I realized that absolutely changed is there are a few cases where they create the ad, they put in the newspaper, they show that people read the ad, they actually read the ad, and they decide to buy the thing, right? So I think that today that wouldn't work. So on one hand, these days in modern times with digital advertising, anyone can start, right? Advertising, you don't need like huge agencies to do that. Anyone can become, I don't know, influencer, go viral. But on the other hand, it's actually very, very difficult to kind of reach and affect the customers that we want to reach. So we have an increasing competition, right? Everyone can do it. Therefore, quite many choose to do it. We have ad fatigue. We have information noise everywhere. We have people starting to mistrust in product communication, advertising. We have this example that basically ads are like no, because like everyone, we all have nose, right? And we all like it's there, it's on our side, but we choose not to see that. And I think it's a very similar case with the ads. I have so many marketer friends who are talking about how amazing the ad that they created, but then if I ask you what was the last ad that you remember from the last 2 days, and it's usually I don't even know, even though I saw many of them, they were everywhere around me. I couldn't list more than 2 or 3 at the best time. So what we see from this, that more and more the brand needs to be very relevant, and marketing is not about what you want to say, but what your target audience want to talk about. So this is also an interesting kind of point. I'm starting with this a bit more theoretical maybe angles before we jump into the very examples. But this, I think, very important to kind of ground ourselves and understand, right? Marketing is not about what you want to say. Imagine having this, I don't know, friend or coworker who only talks about what they are interested in without absolutely no understanding, like maybe you want to talk about different topic. So in real life, in kind of human interaction, that would be rude. And in marketing, in kind of corporate or brand marketing, is just simply ineffective. Like the area in which we are communicating, we are not just competing with our competitors, right? I know that everyone, all the brands, they have a list of like the competitors in the industry that they really like. And they think that this is the competition, but in reality, all of us, Omnisend as well, and you and your brands, you're competing with really funny memes, with awesome and very smart thought leaders and influencers, with the super cute, adorable videos of puppies and kittens, right? This is basically what everyone is getting, this huge noise of information. So we are joking also with the team sometimes that it would be amazing if there was the LinkedIn where they could just see Omnisend and our competitors, but unfortunately that is not the case. I want to share with you one of the internal rules that we use in Omnisend and we are trying to use. It also helps us to kind of remind ourselves of this kind of like angle that we want to communicate this, and we call it 3 E's of communication. It's engage, educate, entertain. Basically, three things that you need to think and remember when you are formulating your marketing campaigns or your communication. So of course, the first one, engage, is it's quite obvious, right? Everyone is talking that we need to engage your customers, but for us, it's more maybe a result rather than a tactic that could help us to do something. The second one is educate, and I think people are doing quite a good job with this one, right? Educate about your product, about special offers, about your values. It's all okay. But the last one, the third one, I think that is the most important, right? And it's entertain. And entertainment don't mean necessarily becoming a huge, I don't know, showmanship and doing some random stuff that nobody asked for, but just understanding that it's the customer who is watching, I don't know, the feed, who is looking at the social media or checking the digital ads. They're the ones who are maybe unconsciously expecting to be entertained. We have this another practical exercise that I used to have in my other works as well, and I also suggest for all of you to try it. We call it, if X did this, would I care? So basically taking not necessarily a competitor, but someone similar in your size and area. For example, Omnisend, right? We use Asana and we use Intercom. And if we come up with this idea that we think, wow, this is going to be amazing, everyone is going to be loving, this is going to go so viral, we are asking ourselves if one of our tools who help us with marketing, like HubSpot and Intercom, would help us with this, would they care? And unfortunately, 90% of times it's maybe not really. Why would I care if like Intercom did this or HubSpot? So this is just a practical exercise that kind of helps us to be grounded and understand this kind of healthy kind of entertainment that we want from our communication. So one of the kind of like easier tactics and solutions to stay relevant is reactive marketing. So it has, I think, many different names, right? So I call it reactive marketing. We'll talk a lot at seasonal kind of events and how we use them as part of the reacting marketing. At some other my workplaces, it used to be called seizing opportunities, and of course the good old newsjacking, right? So all these words talk about the same thing. It's that instead of talking about just you, you're kind of jumping into the discourses and topics that your customers are talking about. Why does reactive marketing usually work? So first of all, you're not competing with popular topics, right? So a few weeks ago, maybe there was a Super Bowl and everyone is talking about that, and suddenly you come in with your, I don't know, 30% discount. Maybe it's news, maybe it's something, but it's difficult to compete, even for big organizations sometimes, with the topics that are organically going viral. Second one, it's saving money on awareness. So basically, if people are already curious and interesting, you don't need such a huge budgets to kind of push the message, pay so much. If people organically take and dig into the message, then you're kind of saving a lot of money. And the third one, you position yourself as relatable. So yeah, Reactive Marketing, we have seasonal and improvised. We'll go into both of them and to understand how differently they could help. So let's start with seasonal ones, the more obvious ones, and I think the ones that many of you are doing to certain kind of extent. But also with this presentation, I want to give you some example of how far away and how creatively you could actually use them to your benefit. So, of course, seasonal events, there could be many and different of them, talking about some of them that happened, and I mentioned already, Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, right? We have these, you know that these will happen each year, you know that people will be talking or thinking about these kind of like events. So really, it's even a nice way to plan your activities according to them. Just when you're planning your year at the January or something, of course. So this is the usual days. You can always look for some fun days. I think it's in January that we have the International Croissant Day. So this is also something unexpected that can help you entertain the people, as we talked about. Of course, then there is the sport events, pop culture events. I didn't that here, but sometimes each year, especially after the Barbie and Oppenheimer happened, check what kind of movies come in, because pop culture movies, some famous artist tours, it's also something that you know that will happen, and you know that most of the people, like some kind of segments of people, will be talking about these things. So how to approach these seasonal events, and there are different, as I mentioned, layers of this. So the most obvious one and simple, of course, is copy and visual in the context. So if it's Valentine's Day, you guess you had some hearts and some red roses, etc. Of course, have some special deals, and the special deals used to be very important for, of course, Black Friday, Christmas, but now we can see that it's more changing more and more. Like even there's this huge Google retail report about Easter becoming one of the upcoming kind of like retail holidays where people are expecting to give gifts, and so maybe have some deals around it specifically for these needs. Then special product offerings. So it's always fun. It can be fun to see how you could, I don't know, have a specific set of product or change it a bit or make it in the theme to kind of approach the seasonal activities. If your product has nothing to do with this, you can always do co-marketing. So having the brand that's something closer, so you can kind of be part of communication. And yeah, just think about your target audience and their needs. Like, how do people feel psychologically around these holidays? And there's always different segments and different groups that you could interact. So let's go through examples about exactly these approaches that I just listed. Of course, simple copy and design goes a long way. This is, you would probably write a newsletter anyway, so not try to make the theme a silly pun, some images, and that's already a little bit seasonal. Of course, as I mentioned, you could, I'll share a few examples of the Surreal. This is my personal, one of the favorite marketing brands. I suggest to follow them on LinkedIn. Of course, they were the ones who took quite a conservative and obvious, I know, industry and made it really fun. So this is their Christmas, before Christmas newsletter from 2024. It's just basically the headline itself, better than socks, as the headlines already kind of suggesting on this a bit of annoying feeling of thinking what to get for as a gift for Christmas, right? And if you have many of people to buy gifts for, and it's constantly the same headache, so maybe this is the solution. This is another one from them that I really liked, is Surreal Being Aware, and this is their Valentine's Day. So it's a few weeks ago, the newsletter that they sent. And I love how aware they are, saying Sweden doesn't exactly scream romance, which makes today a bit of a toughie. So I resort to writing a love poems. So once again, even being aware that probably there is nothing too close, and they're not gonna fake it too much, but just being part of the conversation and discourse, and even laughing around this a little bit. This is also like a play on the one spoon with the giveaway of spoons for cereal. So kind of finding this connection in their own interesting way. Special product editions for special days. So once again, thinking and brainstorming, of course, this takes some time creatively to brainstorm, but how your product can be kind of packaged and matched for this specific occasion. So we have been seeing that during the Olympics, we have seen quite few of our customers, for example, are more in the snacks and foods kind of industry, how they are packaged this specifically for watching this or that kind of Olympic show, right? So in this way, already being part of the, I don't know, the day and routine of their customers. So here we could see also color-based cupcakes for national holidays, or of course t-shirts for Father's Day. This is an example from one of the European startups, but I think it also kind of shows how far away you can push these kind of seasonal things. So it's a CTB co-marketing with movies distribution. CTB is a car sharing startup in Northeastern Europe, and they were known for co-marketing with many different brands. Basically, their marketing idea was, they have cars, it's just metal that is used to move, but they want to do something fun and exciting. So for example, with this, they were kind of co-marketing with movies distributors, and they had this Ghostbusters cars on special offer, also decorated and some other stuff. So I know that they used to do also some collaborations with, I don't know, food places, etc. In this way, kind of making an industry that's a bit boring and not interesting being part of this kind of pop cultural discourses. In this way, like the launch of the new movies. So yeah, we went through some of the seasonal kind of side and different ways, kind of different levels that you could engage and play with them and use them to stay relevant. And now I quickly want to run through reactive or improvised part of this. And this is my favorite part. So it's what I mean by improvised is that it's difficult to plan. You probably don't know that's going to happen, but you know that when you open and all of your feed and all of your friends talking about that one topic, that something is going viral, this is that moment where you can engage and kind of jump on the wave and kind of surf that wave of, I don't know, having people's attention with your brand. So it is difficult to plan or close to impossible. Sometimes it happens from my experience at the worst time where you have the most work. It takes time to learn how to do them because in so many cases, sometimes you're following the story on your phone, seeing how everyone is chatting, you're talking at the office, and then next day you're thinking, wait, why did not I just think we should say something about this as well, right? Or maybe you see some other brands do it and thinking, oh, I missed opportunity. So it takes time to kind of get it. But when you do it, it's minimal effort and maximum results and a lot of fun. So I'll go through some of the examples for you to show what I'm talking about. And then a few of the tips from my experiences, what's the best way to start kind of seizing these opportunities. So example one is Diablo billboard during the smog in New York. So the huge smog in New York, I think everyone remembers, was all over, I don't know, everyone's feeds and the news, etc. And around the time, the video game, computer game Diablo was coming out. I haven't played it. I don't know these things, but I know this billboard for sure. So it's something with apocalyptic and monsters. And I remember seeing this ad everywhere because it was so on the theme. It was saying, "Welcome to Hell, New York." So basically, I think they could have put like 500 of billboard like this any other day, and I wouldn't know that this game exists, right? But they, at the right time, they put this one billboard, they made this one picture, and more people knew about this game that they could ever expect it. Example two, also very simple, and I think the best example of minimal effort, maximal result. This is a bit of an old one, right? But the Lego social media post about Tesla Cybertruck. So when Cybertruck was launched, it was going everywhere because it was a huge, great PR stunt, right? And if Lego would have posted any other, I don't know, post at that day, nobody would hear. It would be somewhere in the feed, ignored. Everyone wants to know about this. But them jumping on this kind of like surfing this wave of already virality, you could see the results here. I didn't cut it, right? So, and I think it took them to make the design from this for their designer 10 minutes, post it there, bam. It's more than I think some people who spend like so many money, right, for awareness can earn. Example number three, I will not show the video now, but if you haven't seen this, I really, really recommend you to watch. So it's the Iceland ad in response to the metaverse. Also, this is a bit of the oldie one, but I think many of us still remember a few years ago when Zuckerberg introduced metaverse, and it's not just for technology, but I think the way it was introduced was kind of like had a lot of, I don't know, made people on internet chat about, right? It was a bit quirky, it was a bit awkward, and Iceland respond with a perfect, I don't know, not parody or something, but so very well made. And I think if they would launch any other campaign of showing the same kind of beautiful views of how beautiful Iceland is, it wouldn't have worked. So really suggest checking this ad if you haven't seen it yet. Number four is also example. Omnisend is trying to do it as well, step by step. We are still learning, it's still a process. We're also in this B2B kind of like industry, right? But already trying. So if you remember a few months ago, Jaguar did the rebranding, and it also went among marketers a bit. There was so many discussions, many people hated it and were thinking that this is silly, others were depending. So yeah, it just took us 5 minutes to kind of do our logo in their way, and it's also got a lot of engagement on our LinkedIn, and it was a lot of fun. So how to do this, how to start doing this, because I know like people see it and it seems so easy and obvious, but it's actually quite a difficult process to follow. But here are a few things that I suggest doing. So first of all, follow what topic is interesting or going viral in your target audience in your country. And it sounds very easy, but somehow to be aware of this is quite difficult. So it's what's trending on Twitter X, right? What is the media talking about? Another very easy one is if you have, I don't know, coworkers and friends what are they talking about? Because usually if you work at the office, right, and if by making the coffee, people are talking something about this. If it's, I don't know, I can already say in September, it's about the bigger traffic because of back to school, right? About changing weather, about something happening. If they're talking in your office, they're probably talking at other offices, similar topics as well. So really kind of to be full and to be aware of these things. Second one is book weekly time slots to stop and think about these opportunities. So even though you think, okay, when the opportunity comes, I'll think, it sometimes really is necessary to concentrate on these things. So basically you stop for a minute, you just think about it, you try to look back at what was happening in the last week, right? So really to kind of like start being more aware of these. Oh, I already mentioned what do people at your office talk about. So going through your own kind of experience, thinking what you and your surroundings is talking about is also very healthy. Think what your brand has to say, keep it short. So this is another one. Yeah, then you try to think in this conversation, your brand, what does it have to say? Is it something product related? Is it your tone related? Is it some area that you are operating in related? How can you do it? And of course, try to keep it as short as possible. Usually just like a quick kind of like response to the whole to be part of the dialogue. Evaluate the risk. This is important one, especially if you choose a bit more harsh topics, I don't know, politics or something like this, or something too bold, if you're trying to jump in some kind of a controversial topic. So really evaluate the risk. And yeah, make sure the timing is right. If it's too late, it won't sound right. So this is all about the timing. And as I was telling about that Diablo billboard, right? 2 days later, it wouldn't be the same. So also making sure that it's not too early and people understand what you're talking about, because I've seen cases where people jump in and you look at that post or the newsletter and thinking, what is this about? What are they talking about? Or it could be already when people are used and bored. If it's like 1 week later, then also it's better to skip than to do it too late. So yeah, that's it from my side. I'll stop sharing. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
Sorry, Via, maybe you could stick on this screen recording. It's fine. I wanted to ask a couple of questions from the Q&A tab, but I can't really find too much to pull from. So I'm going to ask a couple of my own questions. So the first one is, are there any common oopsies that brands typically make that's regarding seasonal campaigns? Like maybe they're a bit too late, they're a bit too long, or something like that.
Of course, it's a different case by case. That's why the thing with the seasonal ones, why it's good, because you can learn each year, right? From what worked for not, they'll come, so etc. So really look back what worked for you and what didn't. Try to look from your experiences as well, like for you as a customer, what kind of like trends or something worked. With the seasonal ones, I think the even though the simple basic contextual stuff works, it can get a bit used. So kind of trying to find these, I don't know, a bit more emotional, psychological angles. I think this is something that everyone should be pushing themselves forward with and not just staying on the same one thing. Of course, testing, checking results, and then waiting for next year when you can use that.
So if I understand that right, it's adaptability is also important. If you keep repeating the same formula, right, it's not going to stick as much to the
I
people.
believe so. Customers are smart. They see so many ads. They see so many. Once again, it's not just like your messages are competing with, I don't know, the really funny memes and videos that are around this also, I don't know, Valentine's or Christmas from, I don't know, top TV shows, etc. Right? So kind of like this is what you're competing with. So you have to kind of like push and to make sure that you entertain your customers in one or another way.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we have one question in the Q&A tab that I would like to ask you. So Suhara asks, what strategies can help us to prepare in advance to be ready for quick activation when these seasonal trends conversations come up? Well, preparing for trends that you can't really predict is a bit of a tough one, but I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, preparing for trends or something, it's difficult. There are some areas where you can start learning how to predict, right? For example, the Super Bowl or something, it's about the halftime show and you learn from the previous kind of things. About anything else, it's more about just being quick and I don't know, more kind of like learning how to discipline yourself to listen to these new trends and what's going viral, because at this one usually people get that it's a trend and it's trending and something is happening like 3 days later than they should be. So how to do this? I think it's more about this kind of discipline on listening and daily writing down what's trending in this area, around my clients, on this channel, how long it took. I know, trying to kind of really intuitively get into this. At least the brands that I know that successfully do this, they are kind of practicing this discipline. It's a bit weird because it feels so creative and intuitive to jump on these trends, but I think the marketers, the brands, agents that I've seen doing this, they actually started from this very militaristic writing down what's happening till they start feeling, understanding them, and still till now, like I see them saying like, "Ah, I missed it. They did it. Why didn't I think about this?" So I think it's a process of learning.
Yeah, perfect. Because I think, like as you mentioned, the common oopsie, as I said, is brands jumping in a bit later, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it should be sort of your daily routine to just check in what's happening and just react with a snap, just like that, right?
Absolutely. It also like it depends on the channel. Sometimes something's trending on X or I don't know Instagram, TikTok. Like if you communicate on LinkedIn, you have few days. It's okay. On LinkedIn, it's gonna
Yeah.
catch up in a day or two, so you have some time to prepare. That's fine. But also this timing is also changing. I think when the first season of Squid Games came up, I know that it went so like wild so fast, but as people binged watched everything in like 2 days, after 2 weeks when people prepared their campaigns, it was already like, nah, we moved on to something else. So really understanding this timing and like how that would still sound is important.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just check the Q&A tab real quick. Huh. Well, that's also an interesting one. So Kehinde asks, you mentioned the Super Bowl, yet we don't have that here in Nigeria. How can I make it happen in my area? What do you think, Pia?
Uh, I can't comment specifically like Nigeria, but I know like me personally, I'm from Europe, from North, kind of like Eastern Europe. So we talk about Super Bowl, like not this, but I know that a lot of like my bubble and a lot of customers in my area, they still understand the Western kind of pop culture. So it might be this. If not, you need to find your cultural kind of event that works. We have certain events in the area that maybe people in US or like also like Nigeria wouldn't understand, and vice versa. So it's identifying the local events that people talk about, right? Then scaling and thinking how far you can reach, right? Maybe Olympics, Super Bowl, some parts of it via pop culture, TikTok might be reaching to the audience. If it's a bit younger, right, kind of like tech savvy audiences, then it's kind of similar. It's the same kind of bubble of pop culture, and it can be still used, right? But of course, it's very case by case. So you need to maybe to find your own Super Bowl if you know that in your area and your target audience is not familiar with these references, right? Though once again, if it's like Gen Z, millennials, etc. Many of them are aware to a certain extent of what's happening and have these jokes, even though they are geographically very far away. And for Super Bowl, it's probably even I know in my case, it's not about the sport; it's more about the halftime show and the pop culture. So kind of understanding the parts of these events that are interesting to people. I remember even about the Olympics, like the most kind of talked about were not necessarily the achievements and medals. It was kind of the memes that were going through the internet, right? The guy that was shooting from Turkey with one hand, etc. So catching these kind of trends and trying to somehow use them for you.
Yeah, so I think it's about understanding your audience and understanding if they would understand what you're talking about. Because
Absolutely.
I had an idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, but imagine Super Bowl was happening and you're in Nigeria, right? There's nothing happening of that sort, but you could still mention that in your email campaigns. While Americans have Super Bowl, we have an alternative and promote your, I mean, if it fits, of course, but I mean, maybe that could be a good angle.
That's an amazing, yeah, because I know that like some of my coworkers like we were talking that like, oh, it's Super Bowl, is it like Eurovision but in US, right? So people having these kind of collaborating, talking and few parallels, etc., using certain of these with maybe local kind of like spice. It's entertaining, it's fun, it's kind of like people, customers are smarter sometimes than they look. They get these references, maybe not majority of them, but if at least I don't know 15 to 20% completely in love with your message and what you're trying to do, then I think it's already a huge win. It's better than just being ignored.
Yeah, of course. And we have a couple more questions coming in, but I don't know if we still have time. Maybe just one more. Let's
Mhm.
pick Kahinde once again. What do you think I can do to make sure my e-commerce company can make sure it reaches it? sorry, I'm just going to correct this. What do you think I can do to make sure my e-commerce company can do to make sure it reaches its full potential in terms of email marketing? That's a bit less seasonal thing, but a bit more general. But what do you think?
Very broad question, right?
Very broad.
How to how to make it, right? Oh, so once again, think about your target audience. First one, who are they? What do they like? Not just about the transactional stuff, right? So why do they like their product? Like the more psychological kind of like more intimate kind of part of it, right? Then yeah, try to be noticed. What does it take to be noticed and be relatable? That's where like these seasonal events and the react moments, they give you a chance to stand out for, and this is already a difficult part to pass, right? So then of course the product needs to be good, and then you work on your kind of retention and coming them back. But for me, it's kind of standing out of this. A lot of information noise is very important. Of course, I'm a brand manager, but I think in e-commerce world we have a lot of like data and numbers, and I think that part for many is quite good. But also not forgetting this, how to stand out among these many also amazing brands. Oh, I have another tip as well, the very quick one that I like to give to brands that I work with is, I know that people usually follow their competitors, their direct competitors, right? So like if you, I don't know, selling shoes, then you look at some other shoe brands like in the area and you're trying to compete with them. But I suggest also to follow not only your industry but outside your industry. Check some cool kind of like food industry or fashion industry, I don't know, brands, for example, like the one I was showing, Surreal, right? And try to see like what you like about them, if you like them, and how you can, even though it's completely different industry, to kind of how can you be inspired by them and use certain tactics from them. So this is another kind of suggestion that yeah, I'm inviting you to try, because I kind of really gave breakthrough to some of the brands that I have worked with and opened their kind of eyes of what can be possibly done.
Perfect. I love asking these broad questions, and it depends on the speaker's perspective. Like you still answered it from your own
Yes.
perspective. That was great. Okay. So it seems that we no longer have any more questions and our time is running short. So thank you everyone for attending. That was amazing. Kudos to our design team. The slides looked amazing. Kudos to Pia. You were amazing as well. And kudos to every one of you for sticking with us today. So Pia, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thanks for listening. I had a lot of fun, and yeah, you too, have fun with all the trying to react and participate in what the world is talking about. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.